Hey everyone, we got Olivera yesterday, or as I will henceforth call him, Bro Vera. And I guess most of you guys already found out that he's rather disappointing. And in this review, we will find out why that is the case. So first of all, the general overview. Olivera or Bro Vera in base form is a magic scaling LB chainer, because he does not have a single LB finisher move with a single hit. And in Brave Shift, he's an MP scaling, which is a rather unique feature of his, or them, because he tag teams up with Olivera. And they do form a tag LB chain, which is cool because it self-chains, it's Chaos Wave Awaken frames, but we'll get to the nitty-gritty details in a few minutes. The kit. Apparently Gumi found a liking in these Pokemon-esque kits from Sephiroth and Tifa, and they started doing 3 ability kits. Anyways, the ones he has, Perfect Melody, it's a morale scaling attack, which as you can see, 40x outside of Clash. Yeah. Olivera, not so good in his base form when it comes to basic chaining outside Clash. And Inspiring finale, good stuff, honestly. 300 magic boost, 135 Dark Empire, which is super strong. It's the best one on a current unit. However, if you're using him outside of Clash of Wilds, you're only getting a 30% Dark amplification. Now, this also does 30% Instrument Imperil, which is nice and much needed, because the best weapon for him to use is an instrument. So yeah, still all in all decent, but we've had a lot better. 50% amplification, take Sephiroth for example, or 45% amps, even for the party, the latest Super Limit Burst units. It should have been a given that he has baseline 45 and not 30, because 30 is kind of whatever. I mean, Yigni has 30% for all allies as well, but for himself, he's got, I believe, 50 Dark, so why can't Olivera have nice things? I mean, we'll get to that, because there's a caveat to his better amplification. On the passive side of things, getting a lot more magic in for being EX plus 3, I feel like that's fine. No abilities tied to EX plus 3 is okay. It's just more oomph to his attacks. It's fine with me, honestly. He only has 5x chain cap, as can be seen by Distinguished Concert Master, increased chain modifier cap 100, so you need either the latest Clash of Wilds Clothes, Indestructible Light, or Equip Helm plus the Crown from Clash. Either way is fine. I would always suggest using the rope, or not rope, the clothes on him from Clash of Wilds with the chain cap increase. That's the easiest and probably most efficient slot to use, because a 120 attack / magic rope, why am I saying rope, clothes, they are super good when they have a chain mod increase. From my point of view, there are a few exceptions. Sephiroth comes to mind, who has to wear his STMR the inner chest slot for the good stuff, but there are a few exceptions to the rule always, right? Other than that, as you can see, building crescendo, gifted with talent, he's got a lot of passive stuff that activates on conditions, and for this one I actually included the conditions or base activation skills, because they do things a little bit differently this time. As you can see, Gifted with Talent increases the modification of his Perfect Melody stuff, which then turns into a higher one, so 50x increase to Perfect Melody, meaning it's 90x, right? So that's fine. It also increases the total amount of damage for Perfect Melody to 410x in Clash of Wilds. That is okay. And the worst thing is, though, the 90x does not apply to outside of Clash, because as you can see, maintain tempo, it says when morale gauge is above 100. So this is exclusively Clash of Wilds in Trials or Dark Visions, you're still left with the 40x modifier, which is kind of bad, right? It's super disheartening to see a unit this cool looking with such a bad kit that is entirely tailored around Clash of Wills, whereas everything else is just, well, we don't care. The same applies to Musical Magic, which is activated by Violin Virtuoso, and this one's really stinging. Like, let's check this one out again. Violin Virtuoso, enable magical music when morale gauge is above 0%. I double checked this, and as long as the morale gauge wording is in the ability name, it won't activate outside of it. So for Dark Visions or Trials or any farming content, you will not get the 400% magic increase. You won't get the Demon Stone and Reaper 200% killers, and obviously you won't get the LB increase, and of course you won't get the 50% Dark Amp. Whoever thought that this was a good idea should double check his job profile, because this is peak bad game design. Why would you lock out a unit that is weak already in this form, make it even worse off in any other content there is, just for the sake of making it such a blatant, oh well, this unit is for Clash of Wills, let's make it really obvious. Like, who would want to pull for that? It's really bad, honestly. Yeah, had to rant about this because while I like Olivera, his kit is just bad. And the Limit Burst, entirely morale-based scaling, as you can see. It doesn't even deal good damage in morale base with morale stuff, honestly. And when you check out the modifier on its own for anything outside the Clash of Wills, it's a 135x modifier. 135x modifier, that is 7-star territory for damage. And you will see that later on when we check out the damage comparison, that his base form LB is a joke. The cool thing though is the bottom part of it, that he copies status effects for 5 turns from caster to caster, so LB damage, amplifications, etc, damage reduction, it's all pretty cool, and there are a few gimmicks you could do with this. Like, take for example Daisy. Daisy has a 99% mitigation for what's it called, fairies, for example, on her Grandes, and that one applies to all party members if I'm not mistaken. You could also take Jaunty Jubilee from Bulwark, which is also a super strong cooldown reduction for an ally, and he could extend that cooldown or that damage reduction on himself for 5 more turns. So Daisy stuff, which lasts only 1 turn, suddenly lasts 5 turns on Olivera, which is super cool if you want someone to soak damage from a fairy. So that is a super cool gimmick, but he can't spread it, and I feel like that's kind of a waste, because Xon can steal things such as LB damage or damage reduction. It's kind of sad to see such a good opportunity wasted. The Brave Shift, where he tags up with Rivera, more of the same, honestly. It's more tag chain attacks, some MP scaling, so the whole kit is around MP scaling, as you can see. Symphonic Harmony is an example of that, which is fine. It's a good ability. The Brave Shift is actually where most of the, or all of the damage is coming from. Rehearsal Session is also a nice one. Damage mitigation, cure breaks, etc. Stop and charm immunity. So it's fine. It's the better one of the 2 forms, definitely. But yeah, Inspiring Finale taken over from the base form. It's still not that fun to use. And yeah, Concerto Grosso, or however you pronounce that. We'll check that out in a second. It's 1 use per battle, and we'll get to that in a second. A few notable things about the passives. His EX plus 3 passive is 500 MP, which is rather strong from my point of view. He still retains that 5x chain cap, so you need to build for that as well. But he increases MP, or they increase MP by 250 baseline, which is super cool. That way you can easily cap 400% MP. And they do have the first unit, if I'm not entirely mistaken, to have 400 true double hand MP. So these guys, or this duo, can reach absurd amount of MP, and I'll show you later on how much it can actually get. Alright, so here are the activation skills. It is Concerto Grosso activates Remarkable Composition. That one applies to the whole party, so everyone on the party gets bolting strike frames. It is mostly or entirely a Clash of Wills ability. As you can see, it has 2 frames, 8 attacks and a single finishing attack, a 10x and 20x baseline, so totally useless for anything outside Clash of Wills. But it's 170 and 220x respectively when the morale gauge is at max at 200. So that is a decent skill to use, in my opinion. Most of the time you are using actual Clash of Wills units that have their own chaining moves, scaling with morale, and those tend to be a lot higher than this. But it's still nice to have if you're using a unit that is not meant for Dark Visions, Clash of Wills, sorry. So always a little bit of a trade-off, right? Other than that, he's an MP battery. He's got that building crescendo for the morale fill. It's decent, I guess, but nothing too exciting, honestly. The exciting part is his Violin Concerto, which is his tag LB, while the modifiers themselves, they look rather unimpressive, right? 20, 20, 20, and 27, that is, let me quick math this, 87x modifier. It is super low, and it really shows when you see the damage comparison. But the kicker here is the MP scaling. Now, there is a reason why the max is 99,999, because the more MP you get, the crazier the numbers can become. However, and I will spoil the results already a little bit, to make Olivera as strong as Sephiroth, you need roughly 20,000 MP before that 1.75x multiplication modifier. And truth be told, you're never getting that far. There are no MP buffs in the game. So you're unlikely to reach that number, even if you super try hard. The highest I could get, and that includes time limited units, is almost 11,000. But I'll show that in a second. Other than that, it's a good ability. It has a lot of potential. It would scale very well the more MP gear we get. But truth be told, for the time being and the next coming months, unless Gumi pulls out a miracle in gearing, he's not gonna happen. So yeah, let's get on and talk about TMR and STMR. The Trustmaster is a materia, 30% magic, 50% LB increase, and 100% chain acceleration. This is not SOS Lightning's STMR equivalent. It is more of the same from Tifa's, Avalanche Tifa's TMR. It's the same way. It accelerates the chain you can build, so you don't start at 0 but at 100, which is nice. But ultimately it's not that much needed. Still, it's a good LB materia. It's a discounted Black Mage Slacker for what it's worth. Black Mage Slacker also has 50% LB, but 50% magic, has no chain acceleration for that matter. It's still a good LB materia for mages, because mages are sorely lacking LB materias. I mean, we are still using Guardian of Light Sora for most of the time on mages, because that 75% LB damage is pretty good. Yeah, and the STMR is a violin or an instrument with a whopping 400 MP baseline, which is super cool. For himself especially. 210 magic, 20 spirit. It also adds 75% Demon Stone Reaper Killer, only magic, so I guess this is Olivera's passive killers, which he lacks entirely in his kit. So yeah, I mean it's a two-handed weapon, 1.3 to 1.7x variants, but as you all should know, magic variants does not exist for weapons. So if only variants matter for mag users. That'd be such a cool quality of life update. I mean, it's still a great weapon for magic or instrument users and has a great variety of killers. I mean, technically speaking, Bulwark could use this too. So that's something, I guess. But yeah, the vision card, I was not able to get the animation of the vision card in time for this video, sadly. But yeah, the vision card, 300 base MP at level 10, 110 base magic at level 10. It's a good card, has decent passives as well, 30 MP, 20 magic for 25 Demon Stone Undead Killer, magic only though. And FFBE only units gain 5% MP recovery per turn and 30% reduced ability cost, which would have been very nice last month for Kairos. But here we are, the good cards always come late, I feel like. It's a great card for himself, maybe it's cool for Cetra Arif, very likely so even for the super high amount of magic points it's on the card, especially because it's base MP that could make or break Arif to be even better than she already is. But in general, I don't think it's going to see much use outside of Olivera and maybe Cetra Arif, but a huge maybe. Alright, and now here comes the fun part, the damage calculation. No real changes, the only thing I actually inserted here was Instrument Imperil for sure this time. 50% Dark Amp for Olivera is included, anything else is the same as last week or the weeks prior to this. I'd suggest if you want to read through all of this, just pause the video for a second and read it through. But I'll continue now. So because the builder was not updated, I had to do it like this. So the tag LB is using the own STMR from Olivera. It's using the own vision card because that one actually relies on magic points. And as you can see, Floating Hearts is on here, on this build. And it's twice on this build, which makes this super hard to pull off. I know many people won't like this build for exactly this reason. Not even I myself can replicate this build because I have 0 Floating Hearts. But if we're comparing best in slot builds, this is it. And if you were to ask me how to how to replace Floating Heart, is basically pick any accessory with a lot of MP. Now, right off the top of my head, I can't think of any right now because I'm not an expert in MP scaling gear, to be honest. But I know for sure there are a couple decent ones, but none are even close to Floating Hearts. And yeah, all the rest should be rather familiar. It's a lot of STMRs, obviously. Miracle Magic comes in handy. Miracle Magic is a reward for having a parameter quest completed, so that's an easy one. Alright, and here is the base LB build, again using the own STMR, but this time we are using the vision card from Louise because it has 50% LB damage. And yeah, Olivera needs 100% true double hand magic. That means you have one less slot for killers or LB. Now this build is a 300%, even a little bit more than 300% killers for demon. It is what it is, I'd say. And only has 250% LB damage from passives because we need to kind of fit in that slot. Now, one could argue I could use double Ravenheart here instead of Cursed Doll and Heliolite, and that is entirely possible. I could do this, but you'd lose a little bit of magic. I just thought of this, yeah. I think using double Ravenheart might be better than enchanting Archer because you could fit in the 300% LB. I think that is the better way, but still you're still using the own STMR and you're using the 100 chain cap clothes from Clash of Wilds, which will be available next month, or in 2 weeks, I should say. No, in 4 weeks. Excuse me, in 4 weeks. 2 weeks Clash now, 2 weeks until we get the rewards. So in 4 weeks from now, we will have the clothes at our disposal, but I thought, why not make this future-proof already? Alright, these are the old builds. If you care about this or want to really know, I suggest pausing the video. I've showed this many times already in the prior weeks, so yeah. And this is the result. I do want to point out the laughable damage of Olivera. I hope you can see my cursor. Olivera's base LB sits at the very bottom. It's super bad, 135x. Even if you can reach almost 10k magic points, it doesn't matter if your modifier is that bad. It's really a sad story. Like I said, 135x modifier is 7-star territory. So yeah, nothing too really exciting here. On the other hand, the Brave Shift, Tackle B, that one seems rather high, and the reason is because the MP scaling does the trick. It is 18,891 MP that we're looking at. Again, double floating hearts, which is hard to pull off, so your mileage may vary, and it's going to vary a lot. But they sit just slightly below Ice Reaper Kurosame, although Kurosame has the upside of variance. And Sky, technically speaking, is better still, because she's using a gun, and chances are you're more likely to hit high variance rolls. And yeah, there should be a point where Sky is going to be always better, and I would wager that it's at 1.6x gun variance she's going to overtake Olivera every time, because at max variance, well, Sky is 200 million ahead. So, or how much is it in percent? I believe like 5% or so. So yeah, while the damage is decent, if it's a Clash of Wilds boss, why bother taking Olivera over, say, Sephiroth, especially in this particular Clash of Wilds? There's no reason to. So yeah. Low morale mods, well, it's right on the sheet, right? Even if you're using Olivera as a morale finisher in base, it's not going to be enough to warrant him or secure him a spot in Clash of Wilds. It's just that sad of a story. So how does he fare in the meta? In Clash of Wilds, he does not bring anything to the table that makes him stand out, and it's a huge pity, because Gumi spent a lot of resources potentially for this unit just for it to end up not being used. I mean, it's this bad that when I thought about Olivera, when I saw the kit, I was like, what would he do for me that I can't do right now? And the answer was nothing. There's nothing I couldn't do if I hadn't Olivera. And that means, why should I pull? And in Dark Visions, he might be relevant for dark stages, because that's kind of his thing, right? And the Tag LB, it does good damage, but I think that Ibarra might be better. Not sure yet, but that's my gut feeling. So yeah, I mean, the LB mod in Brave Shift is super weak, and like I said earlier, you need 20k MP to make up for that, to be on par with Sephiroth. I mathed that one out, by the way. The issue is that Olivera has 0 passive killers, and now that Dark Visions has dual type races or dual type race bosses, it's very apparent that Olivera is not going to be sitting well in any team composition, because there's a lot of things that you have to keep in mind. MP, gearing, LB damage. Well, not so much for the Brave Shift, because the Brave Shift has full passive 300 LB if I'm not mistaken, but you get the picture, right? 300 killers from scratch to 2 races? No, that's not going to happen. Absolutely not going to happen. And that is why you will never bring Olivera to any fight, most likely. Another issue I see is that the self-killer buffs only activates in Clash. making him utterly useless outside of it. And the fun gimmick with his base LB, it could have been so much cooler if it actually also spread, because that'd be such a unique feature. But then again, I believe Gumi learned a lesson from Mastermind Zorn, who broke the meta for a good couple of months or years in Dark Vision, so I guess they were too afraid to make that mistake again. Could have been good though. Olivera could have been so good with that little change. So yeah, should you pull? I guess it's safe to say that skipping Olivera is the best play. Got nothing to show for, and he's too gimmicky for his own good. That's about it, I guess. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful rest of the Friday morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're from. I'll try to squeeze in a 99 clear video for Clash of Worlds today, but my time schedule is a little bit tricky today, so I might end up not being able to do it. But I do my best, and if I have time to do it, I'll do it. And otherwise, we'll see each other tomorrow. I might do a quick re-review of Ibarra, but definitely I will do a Clash video tomorrow. So, lots of things to do, lots of things to cover. I'll be right back tomorrow at the very latest. See you then. Bye bye.